Good afternoon and welcome to BizCubed weekly seminar series. Today I'm going to be discussing handling many-to-many relationships in cubes using PDI and Pentaho Analyzer. We will review the following steps during this exercise. We will be creating ETLs that will resolve the many-to-many relationship using PDI to generate our schema model, creating simple parameterized analyzer reports, and creating dashboards with content linking. Just for people who are interested, I'm using the latest general access release of Pentaho, which is 4.5. The desktop that I'm running is Ubuntu 12.04 LTS Linux, and I'll be backending the database with, using a backend database of PostgreSQL 9.4. All right, so let's have a look at what we're going to build today. So, just to give you a little bit of a background, what I've put together is a very, very simple or common case scenario for a many-to-many relationship, which is based on a freight tracking company. So a client raises a tracking request, and they put X number of parcels on it. Then a truck driver picks up the parcels and may have multiple parcels from multiple different clients and move them around. So the data is, the input data is quite simple. I'll just have a quick look. Okay, so for the trips, we've just got a very simple table here that's got a driver and a trip number. Of course, in real life, this would probably have the pickup date, the origin depot, destination depot, that sort of thing, but we're just trying to keep it relatively simple. Now, I'm using the Csv Input step, which allows me to pull in the records from a text file with basic delimiters. In this case, I'm using a semicolon as your delimiter. Could be using tabs or commas or whatever you like in there. Now, in the second input is the trip track CSV file. Now, this file, again, is really simple and straightforward. And all it has is a tracking ID, a trip ID, and a unique identifier for that actual combination. So this is the sort of thing you'd see in a normal relational database to join a many-to-many relationship. And from there, we're just pulling in the columns. Some interesting things that I've left turned on in the CSV input, lazy conversion. So what that means is when you're pulling in the CSV file, Pentaho doesn't convert all the fields until you actually try to use one of them. Can speed up very slow-running jobs or is useful for large data sets. Okay, and when I went to populate the fields, in this case that I had to set the delimiter to a pipe, just using the simple get fields, and it goes through, scans the files, finds the new files, new rows, and normally it comes up with a screen that says what the types are, or to find the types, which is a really nice feature of this software. All right, I'll just cancel out of there. Now, to join the data, I'm going to use a merge join function. So we've got that here, but before I can use the merge join, all the join steps require the data to come in a sorted manner. So I'm sorting based on trip ID. So I've got a sort on trip ID from load trips, and I've got a sort on trip ID from the parcel trips. Once they're sorted, I'm joining on trip number and trip ID. Consistency in field names is always a fun part of ETL. And I'm just doing a simple inner join, so I only want to know ones that have actually got trips that actually have trip IDs. Oh, sorry, trips that actually have parcels on them. We're sorting the rows again because I can't guarantee the rows are going to come out of that merge sort in a sorted order, because the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to push it through a group by step. Now this is the most important part of the many-to-many relationship that we're going to solve. So if we go in and have a look in here, okay, the special things that we're doing, we're going to group it by trip ID, and then what we're going to use is this function in the aggregates which says concatenate strings separated by a comma. So it's going to grab each one of the tracking IDs and put them against a trip ID in a comma delimited type of comma delimited field. And then the track count is just a distinct count of the number of number of track IDs that are going to go through. So if we just do a quick preview on that, I'll give you a look at what I'm talking about here. Okay, so what you can see here is for this trip, there are these two tracking IDs on it, and the count, of course, is 2. So I can see that there was 2 orders or tracks on this system. Sorry, on this trip. Now, once I've actually done that group by, just for necessity's sake, I'm just sorting it again, just to ensure that it's in a sorted format to move into another merge join. Now, the reason why I've done that is going into this step, I had all the fields that came out of load trip, but when I leave the step, I've only got those 3 fields that we saw before. So I'll just show you the input fields. So you can see that I've got the trip number, the driver, the track IDs, etc. But when you right click and select output fields, I've only got the trip ID, the track list, and the track count. So I want to put the all that detail back in, and to do that, so I don't actually have to load the file again, I've distributed the rows between these 2 steps. Now that's quite a simple process. When if I delete the step, delete hop. So when I create a hop to there, and when I create a hop to the next one, you get a screen come up like this. Now you've got an option of either distribute or copy, and this instance we want to copy, so all rows go into both the merge joins. This merge join is basically merged exactly the same as the other one, where we're merging on trip number and trip ID. We are doing it as an outer join, so if there's a trip that hasn't actually gone on a track, we're still going to turn up in the the trip table. I just noticed there's a typo here, so we'll just fix that now. So output to the trip table. I'm just doing, because this is a simple example, we're truncating the table before loading, and we're putting in the trip, the driver, and the track list and count. So if we just go and save that, if we run it, okay. So if we just have a a look at the data that this thing is generating, just to give you a quick look. So what I have, oops, we'll do this the right way. We'll go into sample data, which is the database that we're using. We'll click on Explore, Tables, just a few odd things there, Preview, and we must have a few records there without trips. So in the parcel, to manage the parcel, we're doing exactly the same process, where we're loading up the parcel file. So this has got from to the location that the parcel's going to, the date that it needed to be picked up, etc. And then we've also got this the trip track. Again, we're doing join, and we're going into this group by, and this time we're grouping trip ID into a list of comma-separated values, and we're getting a count. Now once we've done all that, I simply generated the model for this table that we're outputting to by coming into here and clicking on Model. Now once I'm in here, I can come in and I'll just use the simple auto-generate function, and that's generated a basic schema for me. Now track ID is not very useful to have in there as a measure, so we'll just delete that because it's not a measure, it's a dimension. Parcels, so that's a count, and trip count is also another value that we can sum up quite nicely. Alright, and when you're using Modeler, you've also got to create the reporting catalog. Now the reporting catalog again is as simple as hitting the tool here, and it produces the model for you. Catalogs are used for when you're using interactive reporting and some of the other reporting in the front end of Pentaho. It's used to be it's a type of reporting that you used to have to build inside a metadata editor. So we've got our schema now, and normally what we do is we just hit publish, and what we'll do is rather than publish this one, we'll go and open one that I've already created. So it looks exactly the same, so I just go in there and hit publish. I've got my default server definition set up, so I've just got a service running on localhost. It can be connected to, which is always good. And it's already been published once, so I'm not going to bother with publishing it again. Okay, so that's the basic setting up of my schema via PDI. Now, you used to have to do all that with inside either schema workbench or with inside metadata editor, so it's a very nice function that you have in here now. There's also the visualize function, which we will demonstrate in another day. However, it gives you a visibility the same as Analyzer with inside of the Pentaho user console. So now that I've got my data, we're going to come in here and we're going to have a look at how to make this dashboard that I've just built. Okay. So we'll just close down the dashboard. So to start off with, what I've done is just simply gone into New Analyzer and picked up my picked up the data sources that I've just created, so trip and parcel. So we'll start off with parcel details. Okay. So this is a very simple report. We don't have any filters on it. We've got a couple of measures coming in. There's nothing really that exciting in here, so it's just simply drag and drop. And these values are coming directly out of what we built. So the number of parcels that were being sent and the number of trips that were utilised for that parcel to get to its destination. Now, the next part is to create the trip details. Now in trip details, when it comes up, we've got a filter set up in here. Now this is where we get to have some fun with the comma delimited list that we've just built. So if I went to select list from values, you can see all these comma delimited values in the list. Now what we're going to do is, rather than selecting an individual value, we're going to use the contains feature. So I've just put in a default value just for this building of this report, and we're going to hit the checkbox here to give it make it a name parameter. So I'm just calling it tracking ID. Now we'll also do the same thing for the trip details. So we've got just our basic list of trips with no filtering on there, so just by driver, by trip ID. And then we've got trip parcel details. And this looks exactly the same as the parcel details. The main difference here, again, is the filter. So this filter uses that contains function to filter based on the trip ID. And that gives us back a list of tracking records that were on that particular trip. If we open up our dashboard, I'll just put that into edit mode. Now the interesting things that have been done here is, as you normally would, this dashboard was simply created by dragging panels across and dropping them, and that adds the content. Now once the content's actually added, what we've done is clicked on here. I've changed the title so that it normally comes up just saying new report, and the special part that I've done is clicked on content linking, and I've ticked this box saying that we have content linking enabled. That has automatically made all these values here blue, so they're hyperlinked. And then in our parcel trip, what I've done is I've come in here, again changed the the title. The other interesting part here is I've also parameterized the title, and that's done simply by clicking on this P button, and it adds values in. So I'll just do that again, just so that you can see how it works. If I click on there, and I've added it about a dozen times without even seeing it. So as you can see, that just puts that in there. And what that means is when the parameter changes, it will come up with that parameter in the title. Now, the next thing that I've done is select from the parcel details the track ID. So when I click on the track ID here, it will automatically set the parameter for this report and filter it based on track ID. Now we've done the same setup for trips. So again, in trips, we've set up content linking based on trip ID and made a parameterized title and set the parameter to equal the trip ID from the trips. So what does that give us? That gives us the ability to now click on an individual tracking ID, and it will come up with the list of the driver information and the trip ID that the parcel was actually on. So if we find some interesting trips, so this one here was on 3 different trips, when we click on there, we'll get all 3 trips that the parcel was handled, or drivers that the parcel was handled by. Could be useful if a parcel ends up being damaged in transit. And what we can also see is the other parcels that the driver was carrying during that trip. Now we can do the same query in a different way in the bottom section. So say we know that Cruise here had only done 1 trip. We can click on here and see the details of all the transactions that were on that 1 trip that he actually did. We can see here that Walker has done 2 trips, and we can then click on there and see the details of the parcels that he was carrying on his trips. So that is a very simple way of managing many-to-many relationships with inside Pentaho Analyzer. There certainly are more ways that you could handle many-to-many relationships, but most of them require very complex MDX statements and are not able to be done via Analyzer directly. So this is a very nice way of fixing that problem. So thank you for joining us today, and that concludes my presentation about creating many-to-many relationships in cubes using PDI and Pentaho Analyzer.